A very warm welcome to yet another Kumekucha video. Information and analysis that is very difficult to find anywhere else. I recommend that you subscribe and you hit the bell button so that you receive notifications every time I have a new video. Karibu sana and enjoy. Welcome to part 3 of this video on how to invest a mere 100 shillings or $1 and grow it to 100,000 or $1,000 within 6 months. As promised, let me give you the other ideas. You know, most people believe that 100 shillings is too little. The amount is too small to invest. But I hope this series of videos will prove to you it is not how much you have, it is what you do with it. And a mere 100 shillings is money that you can invest and end up with a return that will shock most people. Many people in our country today own a smartphone, and they don't use it for making calls. Or rather, that is not the function on their phone that is most busy. And it makes perfect sense, because if all you want to do is to make calls, you can buy Amlika Mwizi. That's a very basic phone that doesn't even have Facebook, doesn't have WhatsApp, has nothing except that you can make calls and receive and send messages, and of course receive calls. If you're a young lady, the function that will be most busy is the camera. You'll be taking selfies and posting them on Facebook. If you're a young man, you'll be busy, very busy, chatting up the ladies on Facebook. Many of you are taking in this video on your smartphone. You're on YouTube. Now, this is what you do with your 100 shillings and your smartphone. Go and look for some second-hand clothes, and choose them very carefully. Now, there are many markets in our country where you'll find people selling second-hand clothes. You'll find a pile at 20 shillings, or 30 shillings, or even 50 shillings. Now, what you'll be looking for are items of clothing that you can sell at a higher value than what you've purchased them for. You can get something for 30 shillings and resell it at 300. For example, there are these cartoon characters that children are very excited about. Tom and Jerry, the Powerpuff Girls, and so on and so forth. There are many times I've seen these items thrown into a pile, selling even for 20 shillings. Take these items of clothing, go and wash them, so that they look as good as new. Iron them very carefully, and then package them. Put them in the kind of packaging that new clothes come in. Photograph them, and then post them on Facebook. Of course, you have to belong to the right groups, where people really know you, and where all people are not jobless or don't lack finances like you may do at the moment. So assuming you bought 3 items worth 30 shillings each, and you sell them for 500 shillings each, that's 1,500. Or even if you sell them for 300 each, that is 900. Once you receive the money, once you've completed the deals, you go back and purchase more. And you build up your investment in that way. And it is bound to grow pretty quickly. Because in the first transaction, you started with 100 and you've ended up with 900. Another idea, be a broker, be a middleman. Now, when you're a middleman and you only have 100 shillings, you can deal with items that are much higher priced. Because all you're doing is bringing a buyer and a seller together, for a commission. And sometimes you can earn money from both the buyer and the seller. For instance, somebody is looking for a 3-bedroomed house in a certain area, and that area is not very far from where you live. And of course, this person is very busy at work the whole day. They don't have time to go and search for a house. And of course, you have all the time in your hands. So you walk there, search for the house. When you find something appropriate, you talk to the person who's actually renting out the house, and you tell them you can find a tenant for them, and ask them that you need to be paid to find a tenant for them. Most of them will agree. And then the person who's looking for a 3-bedroomed house, of course, does not expect you to do it for them for nothing. Indeed, if you focus on being a broker, bringing a buyer and a seller together, there are so many opportunities you'll be able to identify immediately, on social media all over the place. Let me give you an example. Somebody in your group on Facebook complains that they dropped their phone by mistake and the screen broke. And they're desperate to replace their screens. But they don't know where to find it, because where they went, they were asked for a price that was almost the price of the phone. That is a perfect opportunity for you as a broker to go and find that screen, at an affordable price, and earn some money for your trouble. Of course, the 100 shillings invested will probably go into your running around costs. Now, you may be taking in this video and you're saying, Chris, I don't want to invest 100 shillings. That's nothing. I have much more to invest. Give me some ideas. Okay, I have 101 ideas, brilliant ideas that you can use to grow the money you have, to invest it and get a return that is higher than the initial sum you started with. They can all be found in my book, 101 Brilliant Business Ideas that will thrive in Kenya, and indeed anywhere in the world. Now, on your screens right now, you should see all the details that you need to order this ebook. If you have 2,000 lying around somewhere, 3,000, 5,000, or even 10,000, or even more, you will get very many ideas, that you can use immediately, to be able to invest that money and get a very handsome return. But I need to remind you of the rule, very important rule, that I gave you right at the beginning of this series in video number 1. If you have 3,000, for instance, in your savings account, don't invest the whole amount. And this is very important. I cannot emphasize this enough. I have recommended that you invest a maximum of 10% to start with. So if you have 3,000, you'll be looking to invest only 300, nothing more than that. And there's a very good reason. And let me explain this at length, because it is so important. It'll make the difference between success and failure. You see, everything in this life is a risk. Even that money you have in a savings account is a risk. Is at risk. The risk, of course, is very low, depending on which bank you've put your money in, but the risk still exists. That bank can fail. Historically, even very large, very solid banks have failed and people have lost their money. Yes, the risk is low. It may be very low, but still the risk is there. Because when you're handling money, you always need to consider the risk. So there's a risk with your savings, and there's a much bigger risk with your investment. And the golden rule with investing is you don't put all your eggs in one basket. So how are you going to remove your whole savings, the 3,000 shillings, and invest in one project? That's madness. It is very important right from the beginning to get the mindset of an investor. It is very fascinating that the same history has given us accounts of investors who started small, sticking to the rules, and they grew very big and cocky, and they believed that they are so brilliant they can't go wrong. And then when they had so much money, they broke the rule and decided to invest a substantial amount of their savings into one project, one very sure project they knew could not go wrong. And then what happened? They lost all their money. So remember, even after you've succeeded, stay away from greed. Keep the mindset of an investor, always very cautious and sticking very strictly to the rules. There's another very good reason for not investing everything you have lying around. And I've mentioned this before. If you end up losing it, you will lose your appetite to ever invest again. However, it is much easier to keep going if you invest only 10% of your savings. You lose it, you learn from your mistakes, and then you try again. It will be much easier for you to try again. And of course, as you get more experienced, as you become a more experienced and skillful investor, you could increase the percentage, maybe to 20%. So that if you have 10,000 somewhere in a savings account, you can actually use 2,000. Yeah, but that stage will come later. You need first of all to learn the ropes. The mystery of being a very successful investor is the same mystery of life. The rules of life are the same rules of investing. And this way I started this series by quoting from the manufacturer's handbook, where we have been where I mentioned that we have been ordained, instructed indeed by the Almighty, to go and be fruitful and multiply. The basic rule of life is a child learning how to walk. If by any chance you know a small child learning to walk, who's stationed close to where you are, or you know where you can go and visit them, I suggest you do that, so that this lesson of life sticks in your head and never leaves your head. When a child is learning how to walk, they will fall. They'll fall many times. But each time, they will rise up and walk again. And they'll fall. And maybe even they'll get very badly hurt and draw blood from their knees. But that's not the end of their effort. And that is not the end of learning how to walk. They get up and try again. So take me seriously. Don't withdraw your whole savings. Take only 10% and invest. And indeed, you have no excuse, because I have given you ideas on how to invest very small amounts of money. And if indeed you're able to get hold of this book, it will give you more ideas on how to invest very small amounts of money and get a high return. There's only one instance I can think of where you can break this rule, and that is when it comes to education. For example, you want to make money from computers or something to do with computers, IT, information technology. And the college for you to learn this skill is very expensive. You will need to wipe out all your savings in order to complete your course. You can break this rule and go ahead and do that. Because once you get the knowledge, that knowledge will be invaluable to you when you actually invest in whatever IT business you want to go into. However, once you've completed your course or your training, you stick to the rule. When you start your investments, you stick to 10%. Learn how to walk slowly. If you run, you'll fall and hurt yourself very badly. And I believe the ebook I've also talked to you about can also be considered an investment in education. Because like in all cases where you get an education, you cannot quantify the return. The benefit you get cannot actually be pinned down to a certain number. It's enormous, it's huge. Now in the last video in this series, yes, we have come to the last one. In the last video in this series, we will talk about compound interest. We'll tie everything together and show you exactly how 100 shillings can become 100,000 shillings or more in 6 short months. I'll take you through it step by step. But it has to start by first of all appreciating the power of compound interest and how it applies to an investment, especially the investment of only 100 shillings. Now this is going to be very interesting for you, so I suggest you don't even think of missing it. So I will see you there in a bit. This is Kshs, Kumekucha.